All right. So we've talked a little bit about making inferences before, but we're kind of just reiterate some stuff today. So made a nice little anchor chart. So when we make inferences, when you make an inference, you go beyond the author's words to understand what is said in the text. So we're going to look at our context clues. We're going to look at what we know, and what we know is called our schema. So when we have a schema, it's anything that we've known previous, kind of like our background knowledge. All right, and then we're going to look at the questions that we have, and when we put all those pieces together, we can infer. So if I say, I go outside, I wake up in the morning, I go outside, and my car is wet. What can I infer?
It was raining.
It was raining. How can I get to it was raining?
Your car was wet.
My car was wet. The only other way that, other than washing my car, that my car can get wet is raining, right? So, a nice little way for us to understand and to remember when we make inferences is going to be nice little hand motions and chants, okay? So, I'm going to do it first, and I'm going to teach you guys, and then we're going to do it a couple times, okay? So, it's book clue plus brain clue equals inference. So when you do your inference, it's going to be your eye, and then your hand goes up and down, okay? So it's book clue, like our clues from our text, our context clues, plus our brain clue, so what we know, it's called our schema, equals our inference, okay? All right, so when I say it, then you're going to repeat after me, kind of like a call or response, okay? So book clue plus brain clue equals inference. All right, now I'm going to do it without the hand motions, okay? So you're going to do the hand motions. I'm not. Book clue plus brain clue equals inference. I want to hear 2 people say it at a time. We're going to do it one more time, okay? Need some really good enthusiasm, all right? Book clue plus brain clue equals inference. All right, good job. I'm going to leave this up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little read aloud. And see, I'm going to show you and model how I make an inference from the text, okay? So this is called enemy pie. Enemy pie, what do you think the book is going to be about? Pies, okay. Making pie. Has an enemy. Enemy pie, making pies. Let's see. Enemy pie. It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a tree house in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks, and I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood right next door to my best friend Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline, and I wasn't even invited. But my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood, but as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies too, but he knew of a way to get rid of them. I asked him to tell me how. Tell you how? I'll show you, he said. He pulled a really old recipe book off the kitchen itself. Inside, there was a worn-out scrap of paper with faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. Enemy pie, he said, satisfied. What do you think the dad is thinking when his son came and told me he has enemies?
Surprised.
You think he was surprised? Why do you think he was surprised?
Because his son never had enemies until now.
Because it was new information. So when you get new information like that, sometimes you're surprised. Okay, anything else? You may be wondering what exactly is an enemy pie. I was wondering too, but Dad said the recipe was so secret, he couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I begged him to tell me something, anything. I will tell you this, he said. Enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies. Now, of course, this got my mind working. What kinds of things, disgusting things, would I put into a pie for enemy? What do you think goes into a pie for enemies? If you had an enemy, what would you put in your pie?
Poison.
Okay. Worms. Anything else other than poison? Nasty stuff? Like what? Like dirt? Like moldy food? Mud. We'll see what goes in it. Now, of course, this got my mind working. I brought Dad some weeds from the garden, but he just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks, but he didn't think he'd need those. I gave him the gum I've been chewing on all the morning. He gave it right back to me. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back to me, and all the while I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients for enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be awful. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell, or worse yet, what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really, really good. As far as I could tell, it was coming from the kitchen. I was a bit confused. Why do you think he was confused?
Because he thought enemy pie would smell horrible.
You thought he would smell horrible? So what do you think his dad is doing?
Pie.
Does he think he's just making a regular pie? Okay. I went in to ask Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good. But Dad was smart. If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it, he said. I could tell he'd made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang, and Dad put on the oven mitts and pulled the pie out of the oven. It looked like plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made their hair fall out, or their breath stinky. Maybe it made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but he was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. What do you think his job is going to be? Think he's going to give the pie to Jeremy? Why do you think that?
Because that's his enemy.
Okay. He talks quietly. There is one part of enemy pie that I can't do. In order for it to work, you need to spend a whole day with your enemy. How would you feel if you had to spend a whole day with your enemy?
Horrible.
Horrible? Why horrible? You don't know. If you had an enemy, how do you think your enemy would make you feel? Sad? Bad? Angry, maybe?
Yeah.
Think he may be mean to you, or you mean to them? So you think spending a whole day with your enemy would be a good thing?